Incredible moment, single father aids stranger with car trouble, daughter's touching request reveals true spirit of community. Jake wiped the sweat from his brow as he clocked out of the factory for the day. His body ached from the long hours, but nothing could diminish the warmth in his heart knowing he was heading home to Lily. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over the suburban neighborhood filled with modest homes and dreams that seemed perpetually out of reach. As he drove, fatigue tugged at his eyelids, but the thought of his daughter waiting for him kept him focused. Suddenly, he spotted a woman stranded by the side of the road, her hair a whirlwind, and panic etched across her face. Sarah, he later learned her name was, stood beside a sputtering car, the hood raised as if begging for help. Jake's stomach twisted. He could easily ignore her and head home, but something deep inside him, a blend of neighborly responsibility and a hint of admiration for her tenacity, urged him to stop. "Need a hand?" Jake called out as he pulled over, her eyes lit up, relief flooding her features. "Yes, please. I just need to get it running long enough to pick up my son." In her messy bun and faded jeans, he saw a reflection of himself, a hardworking single parent struggling to get by. As Jake delved into the mechanics of the engine, their conversation flowed, revealing the overlapping hardships they faced. Lily, in the back seat, listened closely, her innocent spirit absorbing every word. When she patted her father's shoulder, her big brown eyes pleading, Jake momentarily paused. "Dad, we can't just leave her. We have to help." Lily's belief in kindness struck a chord deeper than Jake could express. He often told her tales of honesty and compassion. Now, it seemed she embodied them perfectly. Her words echoed in him, reigniting a spark. "You're right, sweetheart. Let us help her out." Just as Jake managed to get the engine purring, the ticking clock reminded Sarah that every second counted. She had to pick up her son from daycare, and Jake felt a surge of urgency. "I can take you," he offered without hesitating. The kindness of strangers often creates lasting connections, but they were soon met with a chilling disruption. A local cop pulled up, skepticism painted across his face. "What is going on here?" he questioned, eyeing Jake as if he were up to no good. Jake's gut twisted as he faced the judgment, his mind racing. Here he was, a hard-working father just trying to do the right thing, and yet here was society's prejudice bearing its teeth. He felt the weight of expectations crashing around him, blushing with indignation. The tension thickened in the air, and Jake's heart raced as he considered how to defend the kindness pouring between him and Sarah, two souls bonded by the struggles of single parenthood. "Just trying to help," Jake stammered, feeling the heat in his face. Could he rise above this moment? Would their shared stories, reflections of their lives echoing deep within them, stand firm against the winds of judgment swirling around? Before he could answer that, the cop crossed his arms, waiting. The atmosphere crackled with uncertainty, leaving Jake and Sarah hanging in a delicate balance. What would happen to this fragile connection built on shared values and mutual understanding? Would they crumble under scrutiny or rise together with newfound strength? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The words swirled in the air like a fragile promise held in balance, neither Jake nor Sarah knowing how this chapter would unfold. The bond they'd begun to form now dangled precariously against their harsh realities, exposing them to an unexpected challenge. The roar of a siren in the distance echoed the reality of their lives as they braced themselves. In that moment, everything felt like it was dangling in the air, waiting for fate to reveal whether compassion would rise or fall under the weight of judgment. Jake swallowed hard, feeling every second tick away like a weight on his chest. The cop, still eyeing them suspiciously, seemed to feed off their discomfort. The street was quiet now, the world around them eerily still, amplifying the tension. What if he misunderstood? What if he thought he was up to something more sinister? Panic began to creep in, but Jake grasped onto hope fueled by Lily's innocent belief that kindness could shine through the darkest moments. "Officer," Jake began, his voice steadying into a calm he didn't quite feel. "This is Sarah. Her car broke down just as she was on her way to pick up her son. I'm just trying to help her get there." He nodded toward Sarah, who stood there, hands clasped in front of her, the fear in her eyes mixing with a flicker of hope. The cop's expression softened slightly as he studied the scene, the three of them in this odd, tangled moment of fate. All it took was a sliver of understanding to bridge the gap between suspicion and support. But that small change wasn't a given. What if it didn't shift? "Ma'am, is that true?" the officer asked, turning his gaze to Sarah, who nodded vigorously. "Yes, sir. I just need to pick up my son. My car won't start, and I don't know what to do." Her voice trembled, the desperation spilling over like a dam bursting. Just then, the cop took a step forward, breaking the stalemate. "All right," he said, looking between Jake and Sarah, weighing the authenticity of her plight against the instinct to doubt. "Let us have a look at that car." A wave of relief washed over Jake and Sarah both. The copper's willingness to engage brought a strength to the moment. Maybe kindness could prevail. And in that shared moment, all three felt something transformative. Jake saw in Sarah's grateful smile a flicker of determination, a reminder of why it mattered to stand together. As the officer approached the car, Jake noticed a flicker of light behind the tension. A shared humanity momentarily eclipsed their fears. He shot Sarah a glance, a fleeting smile exchanging the conversation. It was a small victory, yet it felt monumental. The officer examined the engine closely. "Looks like a simple issue with the fuel line," he mused, shaking his head slightly. "I'll help you fix it, but let us hurry up. I don't want to see you late to pick up your kid." "Thank you so much." Sarah breathed, tears of relief glistening in her eyes. Jake felt a blush rise in his cheeks, the isolation of judgment beginning to lift. That glimmer of connection, born from their shared experiences, spread warmth in the air, igniting something deeper in each of them. Under the hood, the officer worked quickly, guiding Jake as they both offered their hands. The murmurs of nearby neighbors began to rise, catching the drift of the unfolding rescue, intrigued and finally supportive. As they toiled away, a familiar giggle sliced through the growing tension. Lily, who had been observing quietly from the back seat, hopped out, her innocence radiating around her like a halo. "Can I help too?" she asked, eyes shining with hope. Sarah laughed gently, the sound piercing through the heaviness. "Of course. You can hand us that wrench." The smile spread as Lily did just that, handing tools over with small, determined paws. There was a shift in the air, a transformation blossoming. Yet as the engine roared back to life, and the sun dipped lower in the horizon, flickering like a candle that wanted to go out, Jake felt a tug on his heart. This wasn't just about fixing a car now, it was about the links between them. Would they move forward together, forging connections that fueled their spirits? Or would the world try to tear them apart again, reminding them of the struggle ahead? As that thought lingered, Jake turned to Sarah. "Do you think," he hesitated, unsure of where this moment might lead. Before he could finish, Lily chimed in, "Can we all go get ice cream now?" A round of laughter erupted. Perhaps simple joys could overcome the lingering shadows. But in that moment, beneath the laughter, heavier questions pressed down. What would this day truly mean for them all? Would it be just a fleeting glimpse of kindness, or could it be a spark for something greater? They all stood there, on that cusp of change, unaware of the journey yet to unfold. Jake could hardly contain the smile that spread across his face as laughter echoed around them. Lily's innocent request seemed to act like a balm, easing the tension that still clung to the air. It was a moment that felt miraculous, the kind that could stick in their memory like a sweet flavor. "Absolutely. Ice cream sounds perfect." Sarah agreed, the sparkle in her eyes a testament to the relief flooding through her. For the first time that day, her shoulders eased back, and that desperate worry that had shadowed her seemed to lift, like a cloud breaking free to let the sun shine through. The officer cleaned his hands on a rag and laughed. "I'll take a scoop too, just to keep the peace," he teased, the warmth of his smile making Jake realize how quickly things had shifted. As they made their way down the street, the tension that once filled the air melted away with each step. Jake felt lighter. There was something unique about sharing laughter in a moment that had started off so heavy. "Can you drive, or should I hop in the back?" Lily asked, looking up at Jake with wide, curious eyes. The innocence of her question reminded him of how important these little interactions could be. This simple outing after a whirlwind of chaos felt like a gift. "Why don't you ride with Sarah for a bit?" he suggested, mischievously raising an eyebrow. Lily's laughter rang out again as she clambered into the passenger seat beside Sarah, who was trying hard to keep up with the girl's contagious excitement. "You know, I've always loved ice cream," Lily announced, her eyes glowing with delight, "but I think we should all get sprinkles. Sprinkles make everything better." "That's a brilliant idea." Sarah agreed, her laughter tinged with joy. As they pulled into the local ice cream shop, the colorful sign lights flickering overhead, Jake's heart swelled. It was a small place, vibrant and family-friendly, the scents of vanilla and chocolate weaving through the air like a cozy blanket. Kids ran around, squealing with delight, oblivious to the worries of the world. The trio hopped out of the car, and Jake reached for Lily's hand, watching as she bounced ahead. There was something in the way she moved, a testament to the resilience found in childhood. As they approached the counter, Jake took a moment to appreciate everything that had unfolded. He felt a connection with Sarah, forged in the unexpected fires of crisis and kindness. He didn't even know her backstory, but in that moment, he felt as if they shared some quiet understanding, some familiarity that blossomed through the shared experience. "What flavors are you thinking about?" he asked casually, though he already sensed what Lily would choose. "Mint chocolate chip. And sprinkles," came the enthusiastic response from his daughter, her little fists pumping in excitement. Sarah chuckled, nodding. "Mint chocolate chip it is. Do you want to try anything adventurous, Jake?" Jake hesitated. "Maybe something fruity?" His mind wandered back to the flavors of summer, to the moments of joy that accompanied them. The ice cream arrived, a rainbow of colorful scoops piled high, sprinkles shimmering on top like confetti celebrating their triumph. Jake savored the way everyone's faces lit up with simple joy. And then, amid the laughter and the ice cream, Lily spoke up. "Do you think we could be friends now?" Sarah's laughter faded into a smile, her eyes glimmering with kindness. "Of course. I'd love that." Jake felt a warmth pour over him, a wave of connection knitting their lives in a way that felt magical. But beneath that euphoria, a knot tightened in Jake's stomach. Could this moment last? The world outside this small cottage of joy was filled with challenges and uncertainties. As if sensing his turmoil, Sarah turned to him, her smile softening. "What happens now?" Jake looked out at their little bubble of happiness, aware of the challenges that lay ahead. Would this friendship lead to something deeper, or would it remain a fleeting moment in time? He took a deep breath, glancing at Lily, her face smeared with ice cream, and Sarah, whose laughter wrapped around them like warmth. The question floated in the air, heavy yet light, the kind of question that could change everything. "Maybe we find out together," he said softly, a mixture of hope and uncertainty in his voice. As they stood there, the sirens of life ringing in the distance, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning. What new challenges would emerge as they stepped out of this sweetness and back into reality? Jake divided his attention between the vibrant chatter of the ice cream shop and the inevitable thoughts creeping up in the corners of his mind. He watched as Lily giggled and playfully stole a spoonful of Sarah's mint chocolate chip. The scene unfolded in delightful chaos, and for a moment, he felt the weight of the world lift from his shoulders. "Hey, save some for me." Sarah laughed, her smile infectious. But Jake couldn't help but notice how Sarah's eyes sparkled with joy, as if she were rediscovering the simple pleasures of life, something Jake had desperately needed to remember himself. As they found a table by the window, Jake glanced outside. The sun painted the streets with soft golden hues, but reality beckoned behind him. A fleeting thought crossed his mind: was this happiness just an illusion? It felt so right to be here, to laugh and share moments, yet shadows danced at the edges of his euphoria. "Dad, look!" Lily exclaimed, drawing his attention to the colorful mural on the wall. It depicted a giant ice cream cone, taller than the shop itself, topped with a cherry and surrounded by animated characters feasting on treats. "Can we take a picture by it?" She bounced in her seat, her eyes wide with excitement. "Of course," Jake replied, his heart swelling with affection for her boundless enthusiasm. They stood against the mural, posing with exaggerated smiles. As Sarah joined them, Jake snapped the picture, capturing their happiness forever. If only life were as simple as this moment, just ice cream, laughter, and joy. After they settled back into their seats, something tugged at Jake's mind. Halfway through her scoop, Lily paused, her little brows furrowing slightly. "Dad? What if we can't visit Sarah again?" Jake felt a pang in his chest. "What do you mean, sweetheart? What if something happens that makes us not be friends anymore?" Her voice was quiet, laced with a hint of worry. "I don't want to lose this." Jake pushed aside thoughts of the future. "Lily, friendships will change, sometimes they'll grow, and sometimes people will go. But that doesn't mean you stop caring about them, or they stop caring about you," he replied, wishing he could offer her certain answers. "But I like Sarah," Lily insisted, her wide eyes searching his face for reassurance. "Can we always be together?" Jake exchanged a glance with Sarah. He saw her compassion mirrored in his daughter's innocence. "We can always try," he said, squeezing Lily's hand. "Yay!" Lily cheered, her laughter echoing in the shop, bringing smiles from other patrons. It was pure, uninhibited joy that broke through Jake's anxious thoughts. Just then, a sudden commotion outside jolted him back to reality. The gleaming sunlight was swallowed by dark clouds. A nearby car horn blared, followed by a deep crash. Jake's heart raced. He turned, locking eyes with Sarah, worry etched into both of their faces. "Should we check on that?" Sarah suggested tentatively, her brow nodding with concern. "I think we need to," Jake replied, feeling the heaviness of responsibility wash over him. They exited the shop together, leaving the warmth of their newfound bond momentarily behind. As they approached the scene of the accident, adrenaline surged through Jake. He steeled himself for whatever lay ahead, knowing that this moment could anchor or uproot everything they had just begun to build. With dread settling in, Jake took a deep breath. Would he be able to keep Lily safe while also reaching out to help another? As the reality unfolded before him, his heart thumped with uncertainty. What if this changes everything? He thought, glancing at Sarah, who exuded strength despite the rising tension surrounding them. Stepping closer, he resolved not to let fear dictate his actions. Whatever emerged from this situation, he and Sarah would face it together, wouldn't they? The shadows loomed closer as they neared the fray, leaving Jake with one burning question: what if helping others leads them to something they never expected? As they reached the scene of the accident, the air was thick with the sounds of sirens in the distance, mingling with the worried voices of bystanders. Jake's stomach tightened as he surveyed the chaos. A small car had collided with a larger truck. Metal crumpled grotesquely, and the driver of the small vehicle sat behind the wheel, their head bowed and hands gripping the steering wheel. "Dad, is that person okay?" Lily's voice trembled slightly, her innocent eyes wide and searching. Jake felt a rush of protectiveness wash over him, not just for his daughter but for the stranger in need. "I hope so, honey. We'll see if they need help." Jake took a step forward, instinctively positioning himself between Lily and the wreckage while glancing at Sarah. He could see the resolve in her eyes. It was comforting. They had come this far together, navigating the waters of their lives, and now they faced an unexpected current. As they approached the car, Jake raised his voice, attempting to cut through the noise around them. "Are you all right?" he called out. The driver lifted their head, eyes full of fear and confusion. A woman's face, pale and shaken, met his gaze. I can't move," she stammered, tears shimmering under the dim light of the overcast day. Panic fluttered in Jake's chest as he realized he could be dealing with something serious. "We're here to help you. Just hold on. We'll get you out," he reassured her, his voice steadying as he surveyed the scene for risks. Behind him, he could feel Lily's small hand grip his arm tightly. He turned, kneeling to her level. "Stay close to me. You're brave, okay?" Lily nodded, but her grip tightened, a mix of concern and fear. The world around him blurred, and all that mattered was this moment. The driver needed them, and Jake couldn't turn away. He motioned for Sarah. "Can you check if anyone else called for an ambulance?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice calm even while his heart raced. Sarah darted away to gather information, leaving Jake with the driver. "Help is on the way," Jake promised, keeping his tone soothing. "What's your name?" "Emily," she whispered, her voice trembling. "Emily, I'm Jake. You're going to be okay. Just breathe with me." He breathed in deeply and exhaled, trying to model calmness. But inside, his thoughts raced. What if Emily didn't make it? What if this moment forever changed him and Lily? "I'm scared," Emily confessed, tears spilling over. Jake's heart softened at her vulnerability. He could empathize with that fear. Daily challenges felt daunting, and here they were facing life's unpredictability. "I get it. It's okay to be scared. You've got us here." He looked over his shoulder, where Lily stood, burdened with confusion and fear. "If you can, try to think of something happy, like ice cream or your favorite song," he offered, hoping to distract her, but as those words left his lips, Jake couldn't shake the unease coiling tighter in his chest. The uncertainty weighed heavily on him, intertwined with the echo of Lily's earlier questions about losing friends. Would they lose this chance to make a difference? The wailing sirens grew closer, but as he held Emily's gaze, a flicker of determination ignited in Jake. No matter what came next, he would fight for their connection, for all of them. "Keep breathing, Emily. Help is here." He glanced back again at Lily, who blinked through her own fear. But then she stepped forward, an unexpected resolve forming on her little face. "What if we can help her together?" she said softly, her voice steady and true. Jake's heart swelled. Could it be that in this unexpected moment, they were forging far more than they'd anticipated? As help approached, a new question blossomed in the air around them: how could a single moment alter the paths of their lives forever? Jake barely processed Lily's words, but the sincerity in her voice snapped him out of his daze. He stood up, looking at Emily with renewed determination. "You heard that, Emily? We're going to do this together." Emily blinked through her tears. I don't know what to do. You just focus on us, okay?" Jake encouraged, glancing at Lily, who had taken a step closer, her tiny face filled with resolve. "You can help me, Lily. We'll show her that she's not alone." Lily nodded, her eyes brightening with purpose. "Yeah. I can help." Jake felt a surge of pride for his daughter. Here they were, facing chaos and fear head-on, and in the most unexpected way, he saw her strength shining through. "Okay, Emily," Jake said with a soft tone. "Just try to move your legs gently. We're going to make sure you're safe. If it hurts at all, just let us know." "Okay," Emily whispered back, her voice trembling but carrying a hint of hope. Jake crouched down closer to the car, shifting his focus to the steering wheel and gear shift. It was partially bent, much like his own racing thoughts. If they helped Emily out, what if something went wrong? But he pushed the worry away, channeling it into determination. "Lily, can you check if her door works?" he asked gently. Without hesitation, Lily moved to the passenger side. Her small hands gripped the door handle, tugging it a few times, but it wouldn't budge. It stuck. She called back. Okay, let us try to guide Emily, then. On the count of 3, we'll all work together, Jake suggested, breathing deeply while trying to calm his nerves. 1, 2, 3. He took hold of the door handle, pulling with Lily's tiny frame pressed against him. They gave it a solid yank, but it remained lodged tight. Jake felt a rising wave of frustration mixed with fear. Hang in there, Emily. He shouted, his heart racing as panic kicked in. Just breathe, Emily urged, her voice a fragile thread as she struggled to find the strength to push herself up. Jake took another deep breath, steadying himself. We need some leverage. Can you lift your feet a little? With a shaky nod, Emily tried to comply, her breath hitching. Jake could see Lily watching closely, her concern evident. She was witnessing real vulnerability for the first time. It's going to be all right, Emily. You're doing great. He kept his eyes on her, speaking truthfully. He believed those words, even if a sliver of doubt lingered just beneath the surface. Suddenly, from the corner of his eye, he noticed Sarah rushing back. The ambulance is on its way. I talked to someone who's already here. Relief poured over Jake like fresh rain. Almost there, Emily. Help is coming. Exhausted but determined, they pressed on, gritting their teeth against the struggle. Lily held her breath, her small face screwing up in concentration, and that simple act of bravery struck deep into Jake's core. Then, just as hope flickered like an internal flame, the car door finally gave a creak and swung open. Emily gasped and winced. Easy now. Jake soothed, gently reaching toward her. He held her gaze, the connection between them forming like an unbreakable bond. Then, out of nowhere, Emily gasped again, your daughter. Jake's heart raced. What about her? But before she could answer, Lily exclaimed, I can help you out, Emily. Just like Dad said. Jake smiled at his daughter's indomitable spirit, but deep within, a knot began to form. What if they couldn't get her out quickly enough? What if Emily had suffered in ways unseen? Just lean towards Lily, okay? We're right here, Jake urged, watching as Emily took a shaky breath, steeling herself for the next step. As the sirens grew louder, the moment stretched, and uncertainty hung in the air. Would they make it in time? Would this moment prove transformative for all of them? And just then, with one last push, a new realization ignited in the depths of Jake's heart. What if their ability to hold on and fight through this chaos was exactly what they needed to change their lives forever? They could do this together. But as they helped Emily step out into the light, the unexpected presence of someone from the crowd caught Jake's eye, and his heart began to race. Who was that? And why did it feel like his world was about to shift once again? As Emily stepped out of the car, Jake's breath hitched. He shifted his gaze to the figure emerging from the crowd, a tall man, familiar yet strange. His stomach dropped. It was Derek, an old friend, someone he hadn't seen in years. Jake. Derek called out, cutting through the chaos. Jake's heart pounded. Memories washed over him, good and bad. The laughter they shared, the fallout that had pulled them apart. What was he doing here? Had he witnessed the accident? Derek, Jake replied slowly, his voice shaky but resolute. Are you okay? Is everyone all right? Derek's eyes darted between Jake and Emily, searching for signs of injury. Yeah, we were fine, Jake stammered, still clutching onto Emily's arm. Just a fender bender. She's hurt, but we're getting her help. Emily leaned against Jake, her face pale but serene, the kind of fragile strength Jake had come to admire. I can help. Is there anything I can do? Derek stepped forward, concern etched on his brow. Jake felt a swell of unfamiliar emotions, anger, guilt, relief tangled within him. But they had bigger things to deal with now. Just stay with us. Make sure Lily's okay. Derek nodded, quickly moving toward Lily, who was still standing back, her small body frozen in place. Hey, kiddo, Derek crouched to meet her at eye level, his voice softer than it had been in years. You did a fantastic job helping Emily. You're pretty brave. Lily's cheeks flushed, and she offered a shy smile. Thanks. Jake watched the interaction, an unexpected warmth creeping in. Maybe Derek had changed too. Maybe they both had. Let us get her some space, Jake directed, glancing back at Emily, who was starting to shiver slightly, the adrenaline from the moment fading away. She needed warmth, a blanket, something to pull her back to safety. Stand by, Derek said, quickly stepping back into the crowd. Jake felt the anxiety ebb slightly as he focused on Emily. Just a few more minutes, all right? He assured her, whether it was a promise to her or himself. Jake, I don't feel so good, Emily murmured, and his heart turned tight. Just breathe, he said, brushing her hair back from her forehead, the way he would comfort Lily after a bad dream. Derek returned, a jacket in hand. Here, I found this. It should help. Thanks, Jake said, grateful to see a hint of their old solidarity resurging. The jacket wrapped around Emily's frail shoulders like a shield. With the ambulance on the way, we're good for now, Derek said, trying to lighten the mood. But Jake kept his focus on Emily, watching her eyes flutter closed as she leaned against him. Her breathing was slow, and for a moment, the world around them melted away. Time dulled, leaving just them three souls caught in an extraordinary collision of fate. Lily, do you want to say something to Emily? Jake prompted gently, his own heart pounding. Lily edged closer and reached out, her tiny hand resting on Emily's arm. You're really brave. You'll be okay. Emily smiled faintly, a flicker of gratitude shining through. Just then, the wail of sirens grew louder, growing nearer. A collective sigh of relief seemed to wash over the crowd. Jake's heart lodged in his throat. But just as he thought the worst was over, he noticed a flickering shadow near the edge of the scene. Someone was filming. Anxiety bubbled up, threatening to break the tender moment. Jake, you might want to see this, Derek said, his voice lowering. Jake turned, dread gnawing at his insides. What was it now? But as their gazes locked on that small screen, he felt a jolt of fear spiral through him. What if everything they fought against fell apart in that instant? What if the past and present collided in ways they weren't ready for? All he could think as he squared his shoulders was that they were out in the open now. He would have to face whatever was coming. They just held tight to each other, but the truth could be waiting, lurking just beyond view. What would it reveal? And would the bond they had forged hold strong under the weight of it? The screen flickered, illuminating Jake's face with a cold glow. His stomach twisted as he glimpsed the footage capturing the moment of the accident, the shattering glass, the panic, and Emily crumpling beside him. It felt like looking into a mirror that reflected not just the moment itself but the potential fallout. Turn it off, Jake said sharply, his voice cutting through the distant wail of the sirens. Derek's hands hovered over the screen, and he hesitated. Jake, this could help. It might be important information. Not for us, it's not. Jake's voice rose, laced with urgency. He felt the anger of years misplaced and raw, but consuming nonetheless. This wasn't the time or place for old grudges. This isn't what matters right now. Emily stirred slightly beside him, her eyes fluttering open at the sound of contention. What is going on? Nothing, just a misunderstanding, Jake replied, brushing her hair back again, wanting to shield her from any added stress. Derek lowered the phone, concern etched on his face. I get it, but we can't ignore what people are saying. They're talking about you, about Emily. The last shred of composure he had clung to shattered within him. They're just watching. They want to understand. You know how it goes. Emily grasped his hand, her touch grounding him. Jake, don't push him away. We need to know if there's something we should be worried about. He looked into her eyes, those steady, warm pools of certainty, and all his anger fell away. Suddenly, he had this rush of clarity, the sense that healing wouldn't come from stubbornness but from facing all the unearthed truths together. Okay, he relented, swallowing hard. But I can't take anything else right now. Not while you're like this. Derek nodded, sensing Jake's defensiveness fade. Let's just keep an eye on it. I'll make sure not to let it get to you. The sirens finally arrived, echoing through the hushed crowd. EMTs rushed in, with their bright uniforms and confident strides, bringing with them an air of relief. But the shadows of uncertainty lingered, overshadowing Jake's hope that everything would be okay. You're all right now, Emily, the lead paramedic assured her gently. We're here to help. As they began their assessment, Jake felt a tight knot in his chest watching Emily. With the warmth of her hand still in his, he murmured, just tell me when they're going to get you out of here. Together, right? Emily replied, her voice steady, but Jake could hear the underlying tremor. Always. Lily stepped closer, still holding on to the sense of bravery Jake had nurtured in her. You'll get better, Emily. Just like you helped me last time. Emily's eyes softened. You're right, Lily. You're my little warrior. The paramedics began to prepare for Emily's transfer, their respectful efficiency swirling around them like the brisk autumn air. Derek watched from a few steps back, a flicker of regret crossing his face. Jake, he called softly. I just wanted to say not now, Jake interrupted, keeping his focus on Emily. He wished he could shake the tension and passed over Jake, but the crumbling facade loomed above them. The last thing he wanted was for any lingering resentment to resurface. They were here in this moment, bound together by something far more profound than the past's bitterness. As the paramedics gently lifted Emily onto a stretcher, reality hit hard. This wasn't over. Jake felt the bitterness awaiting beneath the surface, pounding louder than the sirens. And just as he took a steadying breath, his phone buzzed in his pocket. He fished it out, expecting an alert, but it was a message marked by a name he never expected to see again. His heart thumped wildly as he read the words, "We need to talk." What had he gotten himself into? A wave of disbelief crashed over Jake as he stared at the screen. That name, it sent a shiver down his spine. Memories flooded back, trapped in that compartment of his mind he thought he had sealed tight. He shoved the phone back in his pocket, trying to ignore the weight pressing on his chest. Emily was the priority, he reminded himself. She needed him. But the buzzing uncertainty lingered like a ghost, haunting him with every glance at the paramedics working to stabilize her. Jake, we need to move, one of the EMTs said, breaking through the fog of his thoughts. Can you help us with the stretcher? Yeah, of course, he replied absent-mindedly, snapping into focus. He stepped forward, gripping the corner of the stretcher, and felt a rush of adrenaline. The hustle of the surroundings blurred into a backdrop, creating a bubble of urgency. His heart raced not just from the anxiety of the situation but from the suffocating dread of what could come next. He glanced at Emily, her face pale, but her features remained calm. That steadiness she exuded always grounded him, like a lighthouse guiding a ship through the storm. You're going to be okay, Em, he said, his voice cracking slightly. Just focus on me. She nodded, though her eyes betrayed her fear. I'm trying, but it feels heavy. Jake didn't need to ask what she meant. They were layers of crises piling up, the aftermath of the accident, the unknown of their future, and the dark cloud of his past creeping back into view. One of the paramedics spoke, slicing through his spiraling thoughts. Are you her emergency contact? Yes, he murmured, swallowing hard as dread pooled in the pit of his stomach. Good. Once we're out of here, we'll head to the hospital. You can ride with her. Do you understand? Jake nodded, heart hammering. This was the reality he faced now, the hospital waiting, the uncertainty looming, but Emily's hand remained intertwined with his. As they wheeled her away, Jake glanced over his shoulder at Derek, who seemed caught in turmoil. The churning emotions on his face mirrored Jake's inner chaos, old tensions simmering, new uncertainty replacing the familiar comfort they once had. "Stay close," Derek encouraged, but Jake could see the boundaries still standing between them: hurt, misunderstanding, and unspoken words. The short ride to the hospital felt longer than it should have. The whir of the ambulance's sirens echoed in his ears. He squeezed Emily's hand tightly, and she returned the pressure, a silent promise exchanged between them. When they arrived and the doors swung open, the chaotic bright lights of the hospital loomed ahead. As they rushed Emily inside, Jake felt another buzz in his pocket. He pulled out his phone again, but this time didn't open the message. "Focus, Jake. Just focus," he whispered to himself, trying to shut out distractions. But how could he when the past was clawing for his attention? And what would happen if he ignored it? As he stepped into the stark, sterile environment of the emergency room, he was enveloped by the sounds of a medical facility, a cacophony of beeping machines and muffled voices. It was unsettling. It was a battlefield. That he called out to Emily again, "I'm right here." "Don't leave me," she replied softly, desperation clawing at her words. "I won't. I promise." In that moment, he realized that their fight went beyond the physical dangers they faced. It was about confronting their demons together, whatever they may be. As the doctors began to assess her condition, his phone buzzed again, bringing the urgency back to the forefront. This time, he had to know what it was saying. Would the past destroy their chance at a future? He took a deep breath, staring at the screen. It read, "You can't run forever." Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. Instead of running, he had to stand his ground. But would it be enough to shield Emily from whatever storm was brewing? How did he fight an enemy he hadn't seen in so long? The bright lights of the emergency room felt like a beacon of hope amidst the chaos. Jake held tight to Emily's hand, heart racing as doctors assessed her injuries. Her breathing was steady but shallow, and he kept whispering reassuring words, hoping to convey strength he wasn't sure he felt himself. "You're going to be okay, Em. I promise," he said, more to steady himself than her. The hustle and bustle of nurses and doctors surrounded them, creating a cacophony that seemed distant from the intimate moment they shared. Jake looked into Emily's eyes, holding on to that flicker of determination he had seen earlier. "Please don't leave me," she murmured again, her voice tremulous. "I won't." They wheeled her further into the examination area, and suddenly, everything felt surreal. Jake stood a few steps behind, a silent observer of a world that felt out of his control. The bright white of the hospital contrasted sharply with the shadows of his past creeping back into his mind. That text had shaken him. He couldn't afford to let his history dictate this moment, not with Emily depending on him. His thumb hovered over the phone, the lingering message haunting him. He wanted to ignore it, to push it aside and focus solely on Emily. But could he really turn his back on the past? With a deep breath, Jake hardened his resolve. No more running. No more hiding, he thought fiercely, as if it would somehow shield them both from whatever storm threatened to unravel their new connection. Just then, a familiar face entered the room. Derek followed closely behind the doctors, his expression serious but concerned. "How is she doing?" he asked quietly. Jake barely met his gaze. "I don't know yet. They're still running tests." "Hang on, let me help." Derek grabbed a chair. "You shouldn't just wait around. You need to be the rock in all this." Jake felt a flare of gratitude for Derek's presence, but memories of old misunderstandings simmered just beneath the surface. "Why are you really here, Derek? After everything?" The tension soared between them, thick and palpable. "Because I want to support you," Derek replied earnestly. "And I know how hard it's been for you, my friend. I've been there too. If now isn't the time for forgiveness, when will it be?" Jake opened his mouth, hesitating at Derek's raw honesty. There was a weight in their unspoken history, a loss that demanded more than just kind words. We could have helped each other long ago if we'd just reached out, Jake said, pain seeping into his voice. But before Derek could respond, a nurse emerged. "She is stable," he announced, and relief washed over Jake like a warm wave. "We're taking her for X-rays to assess any internal injuries. You'll be able to see her soon." As the nurse turned, the tension unraveled, and Jake didn't know which feeling to lean into, relief or confusion. He didn't bother with the past for now, focusing instead on the present. "Let us grab some coffee while we wait," Derek suggested, sensing Jake's need for a moment away from the uncertainty. "You need to take a breath." They stepped into the hospital's small cafe, the scent of fresh coffee filling the air. As they ordered, the weight of tension hung between them, heavy but oddly poignant. Derek took a deep breath. "I'm sorry for not being there, for not reaching out sooner. I let my fears control my choices. When I heard about the accident, I knew I had to come." Jake stared at him, and moments stretched, packed with memories and missed opportunities. "I get it," Jake finally said, his voice firm yet vulnerable. "I can't keep running, Derek. Not from you. Not from my past." Derek nodded. "Then let us fix things. Together." The promise hung in the air, opening the door for healing that had been a long time coming. Jake understood now, it wasn't just this moment that mattered, but every moment that had led to it. Just then, a nurse peeked back into the cafe. "Jake. Emily is ready for you now." His heart surged. "Thanks." Turning to Derek, he blinked through the haze of emotion swelling within. "I'm glad you're here, bro, me too." As he entered Emily's room, Jake was struck by the sight of her on the hospital bed, the bright white sheets contrasting the vulnerability she exhibited. Just as the weight of uncertainty threatened to descend again, Emily smiled faintly, her courage glowing through the exhaustion. "Hey there," he said softly, moving to her side. "How are you feeling?" "Better now that you're here," she replied, her voice barely a whisper. "Just focus on getting stronger, all right?" he encouraged, squeezing her hand. Lily popped up behind him, her little face a mixture of excitement and concern. "Hey, Emily. Did you know I helped save you?" Emily looked at Lily, her smile widening despite the pain. "You sure did, little warrior." Jake watched that connection form, a bond sparked from shared struggles and the innocent belief that kindness could change everything. As he stood with them, surrounded by warmth and hope, he realized that together they were building a new chapter. It wasn't just about overcoming old fears, it was about embracing the unexpected connections that could arise when you least anticipated them. And it felt like freedom, the weight of the past lifting, just like the sun breaking through a cloudy horizon. "Let us get you some ice cream when you're feeling better," he proposed with a grin, déjà vu washing over him. Lily squeaked in delight, her energy infectious. "With sprinkles?" "Of course, with sprinkles," Jake confirmed easily, a sense of peace settling over him. But at the back of his mind lingered the potential shadows, a reminder that the path ahead wouldn't always be clear. However, he knew now they had built something worth navigating the unknown. He glanced at Emily, and her grateful smile filled him with a fierce hope. "Together," he whispered, willing the universe to accept the promise. And as laughter flowed through the room, Jake embraced the moment, a step towards healing, a leap into a brighter future, forged by an incredible connection they had built against all odds. This was the beginning of the transformation, and it felt beautifully right. And now, for you, dear viewer, this is your moment to act. Don't wait one more second to subscribe to our channel for more truly exclusive stories like this one. Hit that like button now to show your support and feed the algorithm, making sure we can keep creating. Comment your thoughts below. How did this ending impact you? Did it inspire you? And remember, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to be part of this journey. You need to be part of our community, witnessing these amazing transformations together. Be part of the change.